All right, so this one that says write the equation on the line that passes through the point 3 comma 1. Before I even finish reading it, what am I going to label 3 comma 1 as? X sub 1, Y sub 1. See how that works? All right, cool. And then it says it's perpendicular. Now, what do I know about the slopes of perpendicular lines? Perpendicular lines have opposite reciprocals. Okay? So, with regards to slopes. And so it's got to be perpendicular to y equals negative 3x plus 2. So the slope of the original equation is negative 3. I can think of that as negative 3 over 1. The slope for the perpendicular line will be the reciprocal of that and the opposite. So this is negative, so it's positive. So now that I have all the information, in other words, I know that x sub 1 equals 3. Yes?
Do you have to leave it as, can you leave it as negative 3? Do you have to put the 1 on it?
Oh, you mean when you write it in your notes?
Yes.
I mean, if you know it, you don't have to write it down. I write it down so people know where it's at, because what happens is somebody will say, how'd you get 1/3? And so I want them to know, but yeah, at some point you don't need to write everything down. I like to write everything down at first. Would I do it that way if I'm doing the problem? Yeah, and I'm a math teacher. So I can do it in my head, but I write it down. I found, and listen, I've done thousands and probably hundreds of thousands of math problems. I write every little step down because it helps me to just do one calculation at a time. Calculus, you're adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing. One calculation at a time. And so when I write it down, it really forces my brain to focus on one thing at a time. So y minus y sub 1, and it isn't that much extra work. You think, like, if you skip it, you don't write it down. It's not the work so much as that we're programmed to want to get it done now. We want the answer now, so we try to rush through it in our head. And as you do more math, you realize I'm just going to take my time, one calculation at a time, and get there. So anyways, y sub 1 is 1. The slope is 1/3 times the quantity x minus x sub 1, which is actually 3. Cool. We're going to crank through this. Y minus 1 on the left-hand side. I'm going to distribute this through the parentheses. 1/3 times x is just 1/3 x. 1/3 times negative 3. Now I know that it will be, what will it be? Negative 1, I think. But how do I double check? I still write it down. 1/3 times negative 3. Negative 3 what? Negative 3 over 1. 1 times negative 3 is negative 3. 3 times 1 is positive 3. Negative 3 divided by positive 3 is just a negative 1. So this whole thing becomes a negative 1. I'm going to add 1 here. I'm going to add 1 here. I get y is equal to 1/3 x. How do I know if I'm right? Well, I got to graph it, right? So if I graph this and I get the right answer, then I know, in other words, if it's perpendicular and it passes through the point, then I know it's the right answer, right? So let's just graph it. Oh, my computer's going slow. So I'm going to graph this equation, right? So that was y equals negative 3x. What was the rest of that? Plus 2. Then I'm also going to graph the point that the new line's supposed to pass through, which is 3 comma negative 1. So I'm going to say in parentheses 3 comma 1, not negative 1, it was positive 1, sorry. And I'm just going to call this 3 comma 1. Okay. And then I'm going to plug in my new line, which is going to be y equals 1 over 3 times x. Yep, that looks about right, right? Doesn't that look right to you? It looks like it crosses at a 90-degree angle. There's a way to prove that, but we're not doing that today. It's close enough. And it does pass through that point. So I'm just going to sketch this real quick and put it in my notes so I know that I did my math right. Okay. Now, how do I want you to sketch that in your notes? Well, just draw the x-axis, the y-axis, kind of freehand the lines, but I want you to highlight the point 3 comma 1. Okay.